What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the 1894. It's been a quick preseason. We've had 2 games, but my God, I enjoyed them. We had a lot of standouts. Really happy. Overall, for just 2 games, I'm really happy with the preseason. Joe, how do you feel about the preseason before we go in depth?
It was the least normal preseason I think I've ever seen. Nothing went according to plan over both the games. Both of them kicked off late. One of the ones almost got called off. It was an absolute madness. I think the only disappointing thing really is the fact that there was only 2 games, which I guess it had been planned for only 2 games. So it's, if it backfires, then really it's on us because that's just how we did it. We started later. We've had Arsenal playing 5 games, Liverpool playing 4 games, 5 games, United doing the same. So, if we start off maybe a little bit slow, a little bit sluggish, then we only have ourselves to blame. But from what we saw, we didn't look sluggish at all, especially against Bayern. We were much quicker, we were much better, and just look at some of the performances. Like, Grealish looks like a totally different player. Haaland scored within 12 minutes. Like, I think we're in for, hopefully we're in for a good season. Obviously things can go wrong, but just looking at it at face value from what we've seen, like, there's no reason why we genuinely can't go and win it all.
I think you're dead right. But first off, before we focus on Bayern, we'll go chronological. We'll go with Club America game first. A mental game, right? Kicked off an hour late?
45 minutes late, something like that.
Kicked off 45 minutes late. Had no explanation as to why. A couple of young players started. Luke Mbete started. Was really impressive. Obviously, we had a new kind of style of play, a new kind of role, in the sense that Cancelo, with his new number 7, was back tucking into that midfield, was not playing as a left back whatsoever. But did anything else kind of stand out to you in the game, in the sense of like Cancelo, or how we went forward, or any of that, Alvarez even?
Yeah, it was the return of the 3-back that we played in 2021 with Cancelo inverting. Started off on the left, he ended up on the right. It's I'm happy Mbete got a game. He was brought because we were lacking centre-halves that went on pre-season. Diaz was ill for that game, so we kind of had to start. It was him and Ake. We didn't really have anyone else. I'm glad he played the whole game because I think that he deserves the opportunity to see if, he warrants staying around, playing a few Carabao Cup games, this and that. And I thought he held his own. Obviously, there's a few shaky moments when he's put under pressure, when he was pressed. It wasn't the best, but he will gradually get better with that over time. That's something that he'll just need to improve on. But he held his own. Like, there was no real complaints. The goal that they scored was, like, to be honest, I can't even really remember it. I know that it went through Ortega's legs. That's about it. Like, I can't remember any of the build-up whatsoever, probably because it was supposed to be a 1:30 kickoff and it ended up kicking off at like 2:15, which wasn't ideal, but nonetheless, like, that was, if we're being critical, it was probably the most sloppy. I don't think we could pass the ball properly for 10 minutes. That's just natural considering we haven't played football for like 3 months or something like that. So overall, it was a good test against a team that, we should be beating based on paper, but obviously based on the fact that they're partway through their season and we've, that's our first game back for a few months. It was pretty good. It was all right. I was impressed with Alvarez. He did everything to like a very high level. He understands the game. You could tell he understands the game of football. He can read a game of football. Obviously, he didn't score. He had a couple of chances. He didn't really snatch at it. The pitch wasn't the best either, so maybe that didn't help with it. But overall, like, I'm happy with what I saw. I'm not expecting too much from him because I don't know how much game time he's going to get. I think that all depends on how fit Haaland stays over the season as to how much he plays. But from what I saw, it was good. Him and Mahrez linking up on that right-hand side. We saw it in the second half of the Bayern game as well. They seemed to form some sort of partnership, bouncing off each other from time to time. So I'm happy with how he played. And again, I'm just excited to see his role because I don't know how often we're going to see him, but he could literally just be thrown in at the deep end a couple of times.
It really wouldn't surprise me. I liked his kind of his head down, run of people kind of attitude. It would really do a lot for us out the right now. We're at the losing Sterling. It's not the same kind of play. Obviously, it's not the same kind of player as Mahrez. Effectively, he is a striker, but he can play off the right as well. he would be great for when we need that something else, when you need a little kind of maybe more injection of pace, maybe a more intense kind of player. He could do that role perfectly. And he, of course, he's going to be a second string striker back up to the big man. But that was a good match. But there's one player, now this will carry into the Bayern game as well, because I was really impressed with him over both games. Jack Grealish, you mentioned he looks like a different player. He was been unbelievable this preseason, right? The first game, I'm not sure if he got, I'll be dead honest, I'm not sure if he got any contribution to the 2 goals. I know he didn't get the second assist, but he was very good, right? His build-up play was brilliant, getting in behind, actually running at players. He looked really, really confident. This first time I've seen him with this air of confidence, be it pre-season or not. He still looked really good. He was getting in on his right foot. Obviously, he had that kind of extra cushion of having Cancelo one side, having Bernardo coming in as well. So he kind of had an extra cushion on that left-hand side where he's like, right, one player, there's another player that's looking at Bernardo, or another person that's looking at Cancelo with more space to run into. But if that's the way we're going to play for the season, then he's going to have a good season, because, my God, he was so good. And he ended up with the assist for Haaland as well. But I think, it kind of leads into the next game, doesn't it, really? Bayern Munich didn't take very long. I say it didn't take very long. It was another 15 minutes, would you believe, for, I think it was storm reasons, can't really be avoided. But it took 12 minutes for the new signing Erling Haaland to finally get on the score sheet. And would you believe it, Jack Grealish was involved in it. It was very good by De Bruyne, but Grealish to pass across. And I don't know how many times we've said it, but last season, there's a good chance that goal doesn't go in because it goes over the bar. If you have someone like, God love him, Sterling, or Jesus there as well. We saw him at Villa, he missed one of those. Sterling would have probably missed it too. We don't have that anymore. We've got a season striker. He's 22. We have a striker who can put the ball in the back of the net from anywhere. And I think that was the most relieving thing ever, seeing that go in last night, because we haven't seen one of those goals in ages. Would you agree in that sense?
I would agree, yeah, but I'm slightly disappointed for the same reason as you, was the fact that Nathan Ake was waiting at the back post to tap it in, and it would have been absolute limbs to see him tap it in instead. They were both throwing themselves at it, but that's exactly what we've missed for the last 2 years. Someone who's just going to be in the 6-yard box and throw themselves at the ball whenever it gets flashed across, because we do it so often, and it ends up literally just going across the 6-yard box and out for a throw-in on the other side, and it's like, well, you can dream. You dream of someone just being there to just stick a leg or a toe or something at it to just get it in the back of the net. And 12 minutes, and I think that was like his first touch or something. Like, I don't think I heard the commentators say his name at all for 12 minutes, and then what happens? First touch is in the back of the net. It's the dark days are over. We've gone through that period. We actually have now, obviously, depending on how long he can stay fit for, that's going to be the real test as to whether Alvarez can step up. But while Haaland's there, you've got to say, based on what you've seen, he played 40 minutes because, again, after he scored the goal, the Storm delayed the game. Again, everyone went inside, played 80 minutes, 40-minute halves. So he only played 40 minutes, which, to be honest, it was 40 minutes more than I was expecting. He was wearing his Jordans or his Air Forces and his leisure wear against Club America, like he was never going to set foot on the pitch on that game, and he played 40 minutes of football in the next one. So I'm pleasantly surprised. I'm happy he's got his goal, because the best thing for a striker to do is to score as early on as possible, because you don't want that, because the longer it takes you to score, then you ask questions of, is it a confidence issue? How long is it going to take for him to break the streak? Because sometimes you've seen it with other players. I've seen it with players that we've had. If they don't score for ages, they just end up missing sitters until one of them ends up bobbling in, and then they might score for another few games. So it's good to see him score early on. That's why I was, wanting an Alvarez goal, because I want him to get his first goal as well, so he can be off the mark. So the pressure might be, relieved a little bit. But overall, I'm not too worried about him. I'm not too worried about Haaland. The only thing that can stop him, in my opinion, is injuries. Like the only thing that stopped him against Bayern Munich was a storm. So it's going to take something like a freak of nature thing to stop him. At least I think that could be the case. So he shouldn't have an issue translating to the Premier League or to the way we play. He didn't look like he was any adaptation whatsoever, that he had to make any adaptations to his game. He looked to fit in seamlessly, which is, that's one thing ticked off the list of possible hiccups in his first season, that he just looked like he wasn't a new player. Yeah.
It's the greatest compliment you can pay to someone and say you don't look out of place. And that's why he didn't look. But I'm going to cut off the little kind of analysis there, because it's kind of just a fresher up for the next video. I'm going to say it's going to be all about him. it's about time we made another Haaland video. It's been a while since we made a Haaland video. But you mentioned Nathan Ake, who was poaching at the back post. I was so impressed with him over the 2 games. I thought his distribution was brilliant. His distribution's always been great. But especially the long balls he was playing, the long passes over the top, be it to Mahrez, be it to Grealish, be it to Haaland in that second game in those 40 minutes, they were really good and they always found it. His turn of pace as well, that's always been a thing with him. But he's just been, I thought the 2 guys he played, he was absolutely fantastic, right? I think he didn't look out of place beside Mbete and he didn't look out of place beside Diaz. I think this kind of move talk that we're having where, like, Joe does this thing, and I do it too, where on FIFA at the end of it, when you're doing a new career mode, you send players over so you can kind of refresh it. Joe had already sent Ake over to Chelsea. That's how certain he was that was going to happen, and I know he did send too. He was gone. He was pretty much out the door. But by Jesus, is he already laying his claim to start? He has already put his hat in the ring because Stones wasn't there. He was with the under 23s, and Laporte, I think, was just short of fitness. I read something on the Athletics saying he's probably not going to be fit to start the season. So it looks like Ake could be in there. I'd say definitely start the Community Shield. I think he'll be, for now, I think he's thrown his hat in the ring to be starting centre back, and I don't see why not. Especially if Walker needs to get arrested, playing that left-hand side and let Cancelo drift in. Or, my next point is going to be Wilson Esbrand. But Ake has been so good. What did you make from Joe? Think it was good?
Yeah, he played the first half against Club America, got subbed off at half time because, I mean, at that point, I think we were 1-0 up, and it was like, yeah, just save him. We lack centre halves anyway, so just make sure he's fit. You know, again, pre-season, it's great that we've come away with 0 injuries from pre-season. That is the main goal: build fitness and hope that no one gets injured, and that's exactly what we've done. And then the second game, could have had a goal, but got this 6'5" Norwegian guy, so that's just a little bit unlucky. But a clean sheet against Bayern Munich, where I think he played the whole game. I'm not too sure, to be honest. Like I stopped watching at one point. I'm gonna be honest, because I thought the game matched up again, and Haaland was off the pitch, so it's like, you know, it's one of those ones where I just had enough. I just wanted it to be over. It was an absolute car crash of a pre-season, but no, we've started the last 2 seasons with Ake playing the first few games of the season. That's due to fitness reasons, and you know, I think the first season was Diaz wasn't in yet, so he had to play there. And those 2 seasons where he haven't started the greatest, but that's not really down to him, to be honest. Spurs are Spurs, and when we got slapped by Leicester, we were playing Fernandinho, which wasn't great. But no, he's come on leaps and bounds as a player, let's be honest. He's like, we didn't want to get rid of him because he's so serviceable, he's so versatile, he's willing to just sit there and take his opportunity. And like you said, with the other 2 centre halves that we've got, one being with the under 23s and the other one being currently short of fitness, then no, it's his place to lose. It's his place to lose. Like, you're only as good as your last game, and we haven't seen Stones at all because no one's seen the under 23s pre-season. So why should Ake lose his spot? Like, he's had a good pre-season. He should play against Liverpool. We'd normally play not a weaker side because it is Liverpool, but you know, maybe 1 or 2 players, like the goalkeeper maybe, and maybe like a centre half or like a forward player like you could see in Ake. Ake might have played anyway, let's be honest. Like, I think Ortega will play in that Liverpool game, but you know, I'm fully confident in Ake, and the only reason why I thought he was gone is because I thought Chelsea were willing to just pay up the cash up front. Like, I thought they were just willing to spend stupid amounts of money, but I'm glad they didn't decide to spend the money because now we get to keep the player.
Yeah, we get to keep the player. It doesn't seem like Chelsea are going to get anyone in because, you know, they're falling apart with Joe's come there at the minute. So you know what? We can kind of take it as is. 2 little points. Got to make before I wrap it up. It's a long enough video. I'm going to wrap it up kind of after this. Let you have a say, Joe. I thought Calvin Phillips was really good when he came on that kind of double pivot role last night. And even as centre back, he looked very good. He looks very comfortable on the ball. And he looks like he can handle the kind of aggression that Bayern were bringing with their press, because their press was phenomenal last night, especially since they were in pre-season as well. Their press was very, very good. And then, that's the only thing I'm going to leave on Phillips because he could end up talking about another video. But Joshua Wilson Esbrand might actually save us 40 or 50 million. We said this last season as well. With talks about Marc Cucurella, seems like we could be getting priced out with a move at the minute. We don't know what's going to happen with it. I still think it'll get over the line. But at the minute, it seems like they're trying to price us out of the move. If it doesn't happen, we've got this man. he was unbelievable. He kept, I think it was Nabry on the right hand side. He was kind of drifting in as well. He kept him in his pocket for the night. He ended up missing the sitter as well. I thought those two boys were excellent. Job, fire wrap it up. Have your say on those two beasts.
Again, Calvin Phillips' versatility. He plays centre half, he played as a 6, he played as an 8. Like, that's what we said when we bought him in, was his versatility. He's not just going to be back up to Rodri. He's not just going to play that role. He can fill in other positions, and he did it very well. Like, obviously, as a centre half, aerially, he wasn't the best, but I mean, that's because he's not a centre half. He's not used to having to go out for aerial duels from goal kicks, and he's a bit shorter than 6 foot. I think he's like 5'11", which doesn't make too much difference because Ake is as well. But he's not a natural centre half. He showed his ability to play in that more advanced role. Obviously, not for too long a period of time, but he still played that role. I didn't really see him get forward too much, but I mean, it was in the second half where everyone was kind of like, the game's over, just pass it around a little bit. But again, it shows that Pep trusts him to play that role, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see it normally in the regular season if we do get injuries. I know we only have 3 natural players for that number 10 position if you count Grealish and Foden as wingers on that left or right hand side, whichever one you want to do. We've got Bernardo Silva, Gundogan and Kevin De Bruyne in that sort of attacking midfield positions, which, you know, 2 of those are in the 30s and one of them wants to leave. Like, so Calvin Phillips might be called into action at one point, and obviously you can put Foden there, you can put Grealish there, but with the fact that, you know, if you take them out of there, the only wing options we have left is Mahrez and Palmer. It leaves us a bit short, so I won't be surprised if Calvin Phillips is just thrown into that situation, and he looks like he can handle it. And again, his willingness and his versatility to play there will just earn him more minutes, and like, that's what he wants. He wants to compete, he wants to earn minutes. And Joshua Wilson-Hesbrand on that left hand side was, again, breath of fresh air. We saw it against Wickham. Again, Wickham, like, none of us, we all called him the best left back in the world and started overreacting a little bit, but it was only Wickham at the end of the day. We never saw him again. And we've seen him twice in pre-season now, and he held his own. Pep said he's good 1v1, he's good on the ball, and he'd be a good player for the future. Now, we've heard Pep say this about players before. This is nothing new, but hopefully, fingers crossed, he has a place, because I'm not utterly convinced about the alternative left-back solutions. I've seen this Sosa guy branded about. I've never watched him in my life. I'm not really sure, to be honest. But again, like, a bit older, might be a bit better than Wilson-Hesbrand. Wilson-Hesbrand doesn't have the experience. And I do have to mention Rico Lewis on that right-hand side. He played probably about 25 minutes across the 2 games off the bench as a right back. And, well, I mean, he hit the post against Bayern Munich. He skinned about 3 people and almost scored. So, you know, I think he's about 17 or something. Like, he's younger than me, for goodness sake. It's absolutely wild. But it was a good run out for the young players. I'm happy we saw so many, because we don't normally get the opportunity. Pep doesn't usually like to give you a lot of young players a chance, even against League 1 and League 2 sides in the Carabao Cup. Unless we've got loads of injuries, they still don't really get a look in. So it's nice to see that we do have some talent, whether we choose to use it at all. It's up in the air, really, isn't it?
Yeah, that's it. Even when we play those League 1 and 2 teams, like when we played, I think it was Peterborough last year, we had a lot of injuries and they still persevered with the first team. But it was a weird pre-season, like you said. I mean, the storm nearly interrupted half of it, and both of the guys kicked off late. But, you know, we look sharp, we look good going into this Community Shield. It's on Saturday, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's on Saturday. I'm looking forward to it. You'll get a preview and a review for that. But before that, you might get a little taste of a Haaland video. So thanks very much for watching. We're pushing 3K. We're so close to getting to it. So like it, comment, share it. You know what to do. Thanks very much for watching. We'll see you in the next one.